there has been a whole slew of examples of the way in which that actually what Sir Keir Starmer has said in the past on the right to cause offence. I've just accidentally zoomed right in on Keir Starmer's face, which is absolutely terrifying for everyone involved. But Sir Keir Starmer's comments in the past when he was Director of Public Prosecutions, so you're talking over 10 years ago now, 12 years ago, and he said, people have the right to be offensive. They have the right to be insulting. So let's just have a watch of that and sort of get a sense of how far that direction of travel has changed over this short period of time, and why someone like Toby Young of the Free Speech Union would, like all of us, be utterly dismayed and actually quite scared and anxious about the direction that we're heading in. If my Mac wants to play ball and actually play the video, that is. Give us half an hour. I don't even recognise that man from the BBC. So this is, this is 12
old.
years.
This is really, I mean, look at, possibly even older. Darren, think about how young Keir Starmer looks there.
He was elected in 2015, so as MP for Islington.
Sounds like you'd like to see far
here we
fewer
are.
prosecutions. How high must the bar be? Because
Not
we've
very.
heard of people obviously going to jail for saying unpleasant things about missing children. Other people have been fined and given community service for saying unpleasant things about dead British soldiers. In your view, in future, is that the sort of thing that it should be criminally investigated?
I think the threshold for prosecution has to be high.
Higher than I've just described?
Well, we live in a democracy, and if free speech is to be protected, there has to be a high threshold. People have the right to be offensive, they have the right to be insulting.
Sounds like you'd like to see far fewer prosecutions.
I think if there are a lot of prosecutions, it'll have a chilling effect on free speech. And I think that's a very important consideration.
How high?
Now, that's extraordinary, isn't it, that clip?
Comedy.
Because there have been a very high number of prosecutions, and the Home Office and Yvette Cooper are waxing lyrical about how this is the best thing that we've ever seen, and the government is delivering on people's priorities. So she said in this piece, Yvette Cooper wrote this piece, and she said, we need to restore respect for our police. She says, criminals have paid the price for their rioting, but there's still much work to be done in rebuilding our communities. Well, actually, Yvette, you only mean one community, and it's the communities where the elders in that community got to dictate what was policed in Birmingham and what wasn't. And I said, well, hang on a minute, Black Lives Matter in 2020, Hare Hills just earlier this year, Manchester Airport, what's happened there? Community leaders self-policing like a province of Pakistan. If she wants to restore respect for police, she ought to ban two-tier policing. But of course she won't. I'll probably be arrested for that, carted off. But how do you think, Chloe, we've got to this position where the former Director of Public Prosecutions is saying that we need to not place a chilling effect on free speech, to suddenly saying, well, there should be a chilling effect on free speech?
I mean, how did we get there? Many factors, but I just feel like these people, they live in a complete bubble. And Alex, you put up a graphic which did very well on X, where you sort of put the bell curve, and what's considered far right is basically most of the curve. These people, they live in such a bubble that they think that almost anything that is a perfectly reasonable grievance is something that should get you locked up in prison. And, the police have really stretched resources at the moment. That's why you get police not bothering to turn up most of the time when you call them when you've got a problem. Wow. You get burgled, your problem, right? That means that people don't have respect for the police. But I think that what makes people lose respect for the police even more is when they see, right, I've been burgled, my car got broke into, my house got broke into, and the police didn't turn up. But now they're directing resources even more away from that sort of thing and putting police in charge of sitting and scrolling through Facebook all day to try and find some person who got their facts wrong and maybe said something which was a bit rude and a bit offensive. That, for me, makes me lose respect for the police even more. So I feel like Yvette Cooper has got her analysis completely wrong here. They just don't understand what is going on in our country.
Yeah, yeah. And if, you know, one of the comments says fiery but mostly peaceful, you know, it's that sort of the BLM, that harks back to the Black Lives Matter days.
Yeah.
But Alex, the going back just to 2022, there was this case where there was a convoy went past and they were flying Palestinian flags, and the convoy shouted, "Rape Jewish daughters," and that I would argue is definitely justifiable grounds for incitement, right? Rape Jewish daughters was the command that came. Now, it was said to be not enough evidence and all the rest of it in this case for there to be a prosecution. Well, you know, you've managed to find over, 1,000 cases to actually prosecute people this time in 1 week. And you look at this, and the Whitehall, a protester who said, "Who the F is Allah?" has been jailed. Now, am I going to get jailed because I've just repeated what he's just said? Maybe. You just never know these days. And David Spring is his name, and he's been jailed for 18 months. Now, I happen to know that in this part of the world, there is a mother who is campaigning at the moment to have the man who was done for manslaughter of her child at the hands of a blade, his hands holding said blade, she's campaigning for him not to be released early. He is getting released early, and yet someone like David Spring can be banged up for 18 months because he said, "Who the F is Allah?" If a Muslim gang went on the streets and shouted, "Who the F is Jesus?" do you think they would be locked up for 18 months, Alex? Because I certainly don't.
No, and they absolutely wouldn't be. Let's be real. I mean, we've seen the mocking of Christianity all the time, and you know, the difference between us is that we're peaceful. We accept criticism of religion, and that's just part of living in a liberal. When I say the word liberal, by the way, that word has been hijacked by the far left so much, but the word liberal means free, a free democracy where you're able to criticize each other no matter what there is. What's deeply concerning is that what you're seeing here is the start of the blasphemy laws that are going to come out under the new Islamophobia laws that Starmer and Labour are proposing to go forward later this year. They will really shut down your freedom of speech. You won't be able to say a single word more about immigrants, about Islam, about nothing, because they'll group it into the same category as racism. In fact, you know, if you are from a Muslim heritage, they're even being able to class that under this law, you will be free from any criticism whatsoever. It's absolutely terrifying. And I think we all have to start asking the question, how have we got to this position? You also need to start looking at the language the far left and the woke use. When they say the words community, they don't mean all communities. They mean specific communities. Yeah. So you need to start thinking, they're very careful with their language. It's the same, I mean, well, some of them aren't. Actually, they become less careful. Like Sadiq Khan came out and said, we need to check on brown people. Well, that same night that he said that, a church in London, where I'm from, in northwest London and Wembley, had the statue of Mary destroyed. But there was no condemnation from the Mayor of London. There was no Home Secretary going out, "This is religious violence." Nothing. Complete silence. No checking on white people. No checking on Christians. No extra security. So if you want the examples of two-tier policing, you've got them. They're everywhere. You know, it's that famous George Orwell line, where I think he wrote, the party's final command was to deny what your eyes and ears tell you, and it was the most important command, and that's exactly what they're doing.
Chloe, you sent this across to me just earlier today. Let's have a look at this clip, and you can tell us what sort of you think when you see this, and the lack of response from the armed, the officers that are in riot gear, in full riot gear, so they're fully capable of issuing arrests, right, at that moment. I mean, they are at the height of their powers, as it were, and they are completely, I was about to use the word feckless, but again, I'm so cautious about what I'm saying right now, because you just never know when the plod are going to knock at the door. Right.
Anyone wanna fuck with the boss? You wanna fuck with boss? You fucking with the boss! Yeah! He's ready to kill you all!
So, you know, you hear there the quote, "We are ready to kill you," and this Twitter user says Muslim immigrants threaten British patriots and police do nothing. I mean, when you see that sort of thing, you think, well, if you are actually telling someone you are going to kill them, or "we are ready to kill you" is the actual phrase used, that surely is incitement. Where's the arrest?
Well, it is blatant incitement. It is completely explicit. It's not like where we had, for example, that lady tweeted wrongly saying what the identity of the Southport stabbing suspect was, and they are
Yes.
saying, oh, this could indirectly incite violence. No. This is clear as day, explicit violence. We are ready to kill you all, is what that man said. And the police stand there and they do absolutely nothing. Now, they may make the excuse that it's hard for them to conduct arrests when they are in riot gear, because then you've got to put down your shield so you can use your hands to handcuff someone, and then you reduce the protection of yourself as a member of the riot police there. But I don't think that's a good enough excuse. And we've seen arrests happening at plenty of other protests/riots going on. It's not like they are completely incapable of doing so. I mean, I'm just not surprised anymore when I see this stuff. We've got enough evidence of two-tier policing. I don't understand why anyone needs any more convincing. I mean, we could put together a huge dossier that would be a huge folder about as tall as me if we put in all the advanced examples of two-tier policing that we've seen. It is just absolutely obscene. I'm so fed up of it.
Have you got what it takes to be a reasoned presenter? Well, send us a short clip of yourself to join@reasoned.uk and we might be seeing you on this very channel very soon indeed.